It was at this moment that he knew.
He bucked up. Welcome. You're listening to Bucked Up with Sam Buck.
Fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you have fucked up.
I got connected with his team. We started discussing the whole pop-up before it was my birthday. And then June 4th, it was my birthday. I decided to just 30 years old, kind of like run away from New York, go to LA.
Yeah.
As soon as I'm landing in LA, I actually went with one of my mentors and a friend of mine's, Daryl. He's one of the executive directors he's executive director for ASAP Foundation,
Okay.
which is Always Strive and Prosper, ASAP Yams Day.
Yeah.
You probably been to some of those shows.
Yeah. Rest in peace. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely rest in peace, Yams. And we landed on Monday. No, actually on a Friday on my birthday. After this long ass flight, from New York to LA, I believe it's like what six and a half hours. And then after that, we straight up after landing, we actually got 1 hour earlier, which is super rare, for those flights.
Yeah.
And then as we landed, we went straight to Venice Beach. No, not Venice Beach, Venice Boulevard, to one of the taco stands to pick up a rental car. And after we picked up the car, we went straight up to Crenshaw. And we went to that spot called Showroom Coffee,
Yeah.
owned by Chase.
Yeah.
And Chase is one of the A&Rs that, if you remember back in the days, he's one of the A&Rs that found A$AP Rocky, that were helping them out in the beginning as a management team. And he was also involved with the Benny the Butcher and the Griselda also, So it was kind of like a coincidence that we started discussing with his team beforehand about doing a pop-up and meet and greet. Which we do often.
Yeah.
But I never actually connected with him before, and I had a chance to actually meet up, with Chase and go to Haroon Coffee, and actually experience the Crenshaw and the culture of Los Angeles as soon as I landed the first day,
Yeah.
And
Well, that's how we met. Was at the pop-up shop at your shop, 375 Showroom.
Yep.
So dope. And it's crazy. Whenever there's Griselda events, people pop out.
Yeah.
But your store is wild. Like you have everything.
Yeah.
How did you? You said you were into like the rap before clothing.
Yeah, definitely. Well, after I graduated from college in 2012, 2013, I decided to, as I told you, my major was social sciences and my minor was journalism, digital and print. And I had a passion for writing and doing the digital, blogging, websites and stuff like that. And I was like,
Rap blogging.
not necessarily, I was kind of still, everybody as a student, once they graduate, they kind of trying to find their, part of a journey is to find kind of your own language and what you want to write about and what you want to talk about. Well, fashion was was always my passion since I was I don't know, 3 years old, since I was young. But hip hop, I really love the hip hop. Well, first of all, I'm from a third world country, I'm from
Yeah.
Kazakhstan. And for us growing up, I would say 2002, 2003 were really important times, in the whole hip hop
Yeah.
scene, when 50
Yeah.
Cent came out, and the whole G Unit came out, and then, the whole Predator, and for me, growing up and being a fan of hip hop, I got lucky to intern for a smokers club.
Did you grew up in Kazakhstan?
Yeah, I grew up in Kazakhstan.
Did they were you getting that music out there?
Yeah, hell yeah. Because back in the days, it was early internet stages. We had a mega upload.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of piracy going on.
Oh
out
yeah,
there in
well,
third world
Media
countries.
Fire, yeah, you
Yeah,
could, yeah.
but I used to collect I used to collect the music on my hard drive. I had one of the first hard drives with 120 gigs or something like that.
Yeah.
And I used to collect actually organize everything by folders, by artists. And I would not only collect the albums that I would download illegally, but I would also have a whole discography of mixtapes too. Because at those times we had a Dat Piff coming out,
All those compilation tapes where DJs would. That's how I found out about so many artists. Is they would just put random people right in
Yeah,
there.
exactly. And only growing up and actually finished college in U.S. And actually, I got an internship at Smokers Club, and I was doing this little a projects, at that time. one of my projects was to do promo for Chronix and Protege. Is like one of those like Jamaican artists.
Yeah.
Chronix right now, I believe he's like new modern day like Bob Marley. They call
Yeah,
him, or
he's
something
huge
like that.
now.
He's huge
Yeah.
now. And but that by that time, I was actually one of my assignments was to promote his first single, "Who Knows," and that was kind of like my entrance to kind of like this world. That I kind of like was like, okay, this is my chance to kind of like enter this whole world of music, entertainment industry. And by chance, the same year, I got invited to one of the first Revolt conferences that they did a music conference in Miami.
Yeah.
In the Fountain Blue. So got my tickets, booked it, flew out. It was a 3-day conference. I met a lot of people from the industry, like some of the OGs that started up like a lot of that been affiliated with the MTV music industry. Actually, I've seen one of the earliest Travis Scott performances. He actually performed there too.
When he was doing that like weird devil shit. Yeah, like
he
the
actually, at that time he actually dropped a mixtape before Rodeo.
Al Faro. Was that what it was?
I think it was before Rodeo.
Oh, Days Before Rodeo.
Before
Yeah,
Rodeo,
I
yeah.
remember. Yeah, that one's
But
great.
at that time, when he actually was performing, nobody actually knew him like that, and it was such a cool vibes that it was like in this bougie ass hotel, Fountain Blue. It was such a cool vibes that actually before performing, you could like just catch him like in the line for Starbucks or something like that, And actually, I was in line for Starbucks with him at that time. It
I
was
met
mad
Travis
funny.
Scott early on. He tried to
Yeah.
hook up with my girlfriend in front of me.
That's funny.
Yeah, I was
because
like, hey,
that-
it was before he was famous.
Yeah, but that was a
anyway.
story that actually shared also because I was in line with them for a coffee. Fountain Blue got this like a coffee shop kind of like on the first floor, like on the way to swimming pool.
Yeah.
And he was standing in line with his girl at that time, and his girl was like this like a weird like a blonde chick, like
Yeah.
super young. And the funny part about it that there were like a lot of people that actually attended the conference.
Yeah.
And they were like, and you would never know who's actually in the industry and who is not because everybody kind of like looking fly. Everybody there kind of like for music business industry and networking. And there were like a group of guys passing by, and literally they were like, one of the guys was like screaming. He was like, oh, okay, I see you, Miley Cyrus, like something like that. She was like super pissed, and Travis started laughing, dying, and I started laughing also with him. That's the only moment I actually shared with him. After that, I remember like he got off the line and he went to the lobby, and I was like, oh shit, like it's a Kirko Banks,
Yeah.
like, and I was like one of those like old school like Houston,
Kirk,
like
I love. What was
like,
that?
leaning my cup or something
yeah,
like
well,
that.
yeah, he had so many good tracks. That one
And-
with Freddie Gibbs. He had one with Freddie Gibbs early on.
Never heard
yeah.
about that. All I know him by leaning my cup, right?
Yeah.
This one
Dra-
song
yeah,
that he had.
yeah.
And I was
I
like,
want some
and
drink in my
I went to a lobby. I was like, oh shit, this kid like talking to Kirko Banks, like it's like a big deal, And like that day, I remember like it was kind of like crazy too because that's the same day. I don't know if you guys gonna like research first a Revolt conference, but that same day, Charlemagne the God got into a fight with Mace. I remember,
Okay.
I remember not in fight. It wasn't like a fist fight, but I remember that I was walking to a lobby with my coffee. I see Travis Scott, Kirko Banks, like talking and stuff. And then everybody started running to a hallway in the back. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I just started walking slowly, like I'm not one of those, like, I'm from New York. So
Yeah, you're.
I consider myself as I'm from New York because I've been living in New York for 12 years. I identify myself as New York.
You're a New Yorker, yeah.
So I came in 2009, and didn't leave New York, for a long time, I've
Were
been
you
living
doing
in New York.
fashion during any of this? Because you said you were
So
doing.
I
You loved
wasn't-
fashion since you were like 3.
So I wasn't doing fashion, right? At that time, my passion was to be in the music,
As like an A&R.
Like I wanted to be like in the beginning, I wanted to be PR, maybe an
ever
R,
try rapping?
something,
You ever?
I mean, like when I was little,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it wasn't
yeah.
a big deal. And honestly, also I had some friends from Kazakhstan that were like rapping at that time and actually were making it too.
Mm-hmm.
Because now, like we got to like, okay, if you're looking at the region of Kazakhstan, Russia, Actually, a lot of famous like rappers and producers come actually from my country and get all the awards and nominations in Russia, in the
Oh,
Russian
really?
music industry. Yeah,
And the Russian rap scene's pretty
yeah,
big now.
it is
Yeah.
big. Yeah, we actually got one of these like biggest rappers right now. His name is Kryptonite, and he actually was opening for ASAP Rocky when he was performing in Moscow. He was like his opener and stuff like that.
Oh,
And
wow.
but he's like one of the biggest like producers. He did like the jobs with like Diplo, stuff like that. Right now it's kind of like a mixy vibes, with the hip
Yeah.
hop. And I feel like the whole hip hop situation is like music, right?
Hmm.
It's universal language. So like me growing up hip hop, like listening to rap, I studied English since I was like in kindergarten. Luckily I had like really good parents, that were make sure that I focus on the education. And for
Yeah.
me, like listening to rap lyrics and actually analyzing them since I was like 12, 11 years old helped me to expand my English vocabulary and whatever like the slang, and got me the feel of the culture, of
Yeah.
the rap culture specifically. And I felt like I always had love for fashion since I was like little, and me graduating from college trying to be in the music, but actually knowing the whole lingo and the culture of the hip hop, it actually got all mixed up, clashed. And that's exactly what happened with the fashion at that time also. So I just got lucky because it was like, I think it was like 2015, like 6, 7 years ago. Like I got lucky um, to actually meet one of the guys. They were running a fashion company,
Yeah.
and they used to sell like a lot of high end brands. They used to sell like Tom Ford suits, Brioni, Yoshi Yamamoto, Margiela,
Hmm.
And at that time, they actually invited me. They knew I was working in music and stuff like that, and I was like kind of like mixing,
Was that like more like high fashion, or was it more like streetwear
high
type stuff?
fashion.
Yeah.
At that time, it was high fashion because it was like 2015. I think that's when like streetwear was kind of like dying out.
Hmm.
Because like when I was in college in 2009, it was a whole big movement of a streetwear era, where like like ASAP Rocky would mix up like brands like Black Scale, like Dope, Huff. Not necessarily like, he would not wear Huff,
Yeah.
but Black Scale, like brands like Black Scale came out from Huff.
Hmm.
If you look in the history. So like all of those like streetwear brands were kind of like a this whole new movement where like like rappers like ASAP Rocky started mixing up high end with the streetwear. And in 2015, I believe like that's when streetwear kind of like started like slowing down, and people just and like a lot of stuff started happening. Like there was this guy Virgil, Virgil
Yeah, of
Abloh,
course.
obviously
Yeah.
he was a big thing. And at that time, basically, I got invited to his company, and they used to sell suits, mind me.
Hmm.
And they told me, oh, okay, we started kind of like investing a little bit into like a high end streetwear,
Hmm.
and showed me some of the brands that they have. That time it was like 11 Baris Bijan Saberi, it was super high end,
Yeah.
like a Spanish kind of like dark brand.
Hmm.
Yoshi Yamamoto once again. Well, White 3, was kind of like Adidas Yoshi
Oh,
Yamamoto
yeah,
thing at
yeah.
that time was big. But then they also had Buscemi's, Giuseppe Zanotti's, Givenchy, like all of these brands that kind of like started getting into like, sneakers and all this like, kind
Yeah.
of like early adoption of like a streetwear and high end.
Right.
And they were
Before what
like,
it is now.
exactly. And they were
Yeah.
like, oh, do you know these brands? I'm like, oh, yeah, I know most of these brands, like, and I'm a really big fan.
Hmm.
And they were like, "Oh, can you help us to sell them? Because we've been selling, like all the lady stuff and all the high end and suits, but we never were able to actually sell like urban high end stuff." And in the beginning, it was kind of like a once a week kind of thing. They were like, "Oh yeah, just come through once a week." Just like like
With your artists, or would it be like you had a pop up, or
not even artists, like it was just like a store.
Okay,
And
yeah.
they were like, "Oh, just bring people in, like sell whatever it is, and we're gonna give you commission, whatever it is." First in the beginning it was like once a week. After my first day, I actually like started like compiling a notebook.
you were
writing-
good at it?
I was super good at it. I started writing down like like people's names,
Mm-hmm.
their sizes, their favorite brands. So I would know like whenever I would receive some new stuff, I would know like just go through a notebook, kind of like written down, and kind of like, oh, this guy likes this brand and this size. I got his size. Let me call him or text him, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that notebook started piling up. After first week, they were like, oh, can you do 3 days a week? I was like, oh yeah, I can do that. From 3 days a week, it went to 4 or 5 days a week. At that time, it was funny because I kind of like still kind of hoping for music like working in the music.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was managing a friend of mine. His name is Ace Manuel. he actually DJ, and he's
Yeah.
in the trap, electronic trap music.
Okay.
So I remember like we used to get like crazy ass gigs. Like I remember this like high end brand called Chromat. They bought like 40 seconds of his 40 segments from of his song.
Oh
And
yeah.
they actually paid us money too. They paid us like $1,500 or something like
Oh
that.
shit. So you were like,
And
this
I
is
was like,
the-
oh shit, like me, that's my first like like a deal as like a manager, and I'm gonna get my percent.
And was
you
that your
know?
first artist too?
It was like one of my maybe like second art. It
Yeah,
was probably
yeah.
like second artist because I've been always in the mixy like in college and stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I was more into like even though I love hip hop and I always want to be in hip hop, but I don't know why, but it always would like lead me to like more like a rock music scene. And then
Yeah.
I would manage like a rock band, which is a friend of mine's band called Cousin the Band. And then I ended up managing, a friend of mine, Ace, that I met in college
Yeah.
that became a DJ and actually was pretty successful at it. And we started getting gigs, like getting booked up in a Webster Hall in the basement. At that time, Webster Hall was totally different as we know it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back in the days, Webster Hall, like during college days, it was more like a punk scene, like it would be like some space where like you go,
Yeah. Like
it wasn't
grimy. Yeah. Yeah.
grimy, like super dirty bathrooms, like with a fucking coke bags on the floor
Yeah,
and all that
exactly.
stuff.
Yeah.
Now they kind of like revamp and trying to be like like
It's like a real
classy.
venue. Yeah.
Yes, now it's a
Exactly.
classic. It was a real venue. Trust me, it was crazy in there though, and yeah, like it was kind of like that time, and as I was working more and more in the fashion and actually selling and actually making money off that, I was kind of like slowly fading away from like from Ace and like music. Because at that time I was like, I couldn't focus on it,
Yeah.
And Ace was actually like, a little bit pissed because he was focused on like, doing European tour for the first time. He got gigs in Poland, Germany, and he wanted to go there because that's where the electronic music like resides,
Yeah.
And at some point, like I went to one of his like, house parties, and he was like, okay, that's the last deal. He paid me out and was like, yo, like best of luck, you know what I mean? Like we're definitely gonna be friends, but you cannot do music no more. I see that you're more passionate about fashion.
Yeah. You're focusing
know?
on that.
And doing sales about like a year, I ended up becoming the manager of the store. They opened a new store on the Astor Place, so I ended up being manager out there. Well, no prior experience, never.
You just say like talk.
Yeah,
to
I just kind of like.
But you had like a
kinda
passion
built
for it. Like,
Exactly, I had a passion for it, and I was lucky with my mentors. At that time, I met one of my mentors. Now her name is Zia Ziprin. If you're gonna Google her, she's like a shoe designer. She was doing certain stuff for Rick Owens and like kind of
Yeah.
like in that crowd, And
How'd you get linked up with your mentors?
She was just working. She was kind of like she was cool with the owner, and owner would hire her to do like a merchandising,
Yeah.
like displays, et cetera, et cetera. And she taught me how to do displays and merchandising, et cetera, how to run the store. I learned through her daughter.
So you're just learning that shit as you go.
Exactly, as we
Yeah.
go. And it's funny because at that time, like slowly, like we would have some celebrity shopping with us, Like I think one of my first celebrity shoppers was Usher. And it was mad funny, because that was my first experience. It was kind of like an evening time, mad chill, nobody's in the store, and you can see like, his manager walking in. Manager, I don't know who that lady is, but she walked in with a phone, like mad fast, pacing around, like looking around. She was like, okay, everything's clean, and then like she left. And then they came back with a whole crew. I was like, oh shit. My security was like, Steven, who is still my security up until now, a really close friend of mine. He was just like, he showed me like a sign like this, like, yo, do you want me to shut down the door? I'm like, yeah, shut down the fucking door.
Yeah.
Usher walking in, he's trying on a lot of stuff. I think he bought this he actually spent because it was closer towards like New Year's. So I think he was shopping for his family.
Okay.
And he actually shopped, for his kids. He bought some kid stuff. He bought like this crazy ass Tom Ford Messenger bag that he wanted a discount for. He was like, okay, this bag is like $5,000. He's like, yo, give it to me for like 1,000. I'm like, no. He's
Can
like,
you finagle like high fashion? Like, is that is that like a thing in the?
Yeah, it is a thing.
Like it's like a weed deal or something. It's like I'm not gonna pay.
Exactly, because it's like, I already spending like 10,000.
Okay,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
So you got to have some kind of space to kind of like sell some stuff. And then he actually bought one of the expensive pieces too. He bought one of those Gucci furs we had for $12,000. You know, I don't remember retail value. I think maybe it was like 18,000.
Yeah.
So he spent, you know.
Yeah, he knew how.
And
Yeah.
for me, that was like the first time I was like, wow, you know. And then that was like our first time, you know. And it's not like I took his contacts or anything. He just came through, shopped, and left. You know what I mean? So I don't have his contacts, none of that, you
Yeah.
know. So it was pretty interesting. And slowly, store as I was managing store, even though I was doing successfully, but for about a year, company couldn't handle it no more. You know, they were like, "Oh, okay, we got to shut down the stores." I'm like, "Okay, whatever." Shutting down the stores, and then they were like, "But we want to talk to you about something. Though. We got once like if you got like maybe 20 minutes of your time." I'm like, "Yeah, no problem." You know, like I'm about to lose job, so
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly. You're like, yeah.
talk to me. You
I'll
know?
talk to you for 20 minutes. Yeah.
They were like, and there was a big conversation. They were like, "Oh, okay, there's just this new umbrella, right? So because every fashion brand is under certain umbrella, like you know, you heard about LVMH, you heard about Gucci, there's big corporations, you know, and obviously, in order to be in that industry, like to deal with those brands like Gucci, LVMH, you got to have certain relationship with them, right? Like as a buyer, essentially. At that time, it was pretty interesting times because there was this new umbrella that appeared. It called New Guards Group, right? So New Guards Group, if you're gonna Google this umbrella, it's actually at that time it was they had four brands. It was Marcello Burlon, County of Milan, Hood by Air, Off White, and Palm Angels.
Okay.
So at that time, Hood by Air obviously was the biggest brand. Shane Oliver, you know, like it was pretty known at that time, you know, for their collaborations and be like, you know, edgy brand with the craziest community around it, and New York scene, you know.
Yeah.
So we went to get into because of HBA, and they were telling us, oh, and there's also this new brand. It's called Off White, right? It's by this guy Virgil, whatever it
And
is.
this is before.
That was before everything.
Was he
happened.
working with Kanye at that point?
Kanye West was creative director of Kanye West for like I think 3 albums at that time.
Yeah.
But at that time he just kind of like this guy that was buzzing social media because in the beginning they were like, oh, he started off brand by putting prints on like, you know, bought out like Ralph Lauren rugby flannels, if you
Yeah.
remember those times, you know, and reselling them for like 600, like 6 times more, you know, and people were like, who the fuck is this guy?
And
you
this
know?
is before that was like a thing.
Yeah,
Like,
so that was
yeah.
2016, their first collection, fall winter 2016 called Meadow Heights. So that was the first collection that they ever did as Off White. It's basically was like a lot of hiking kind of like background. You know, you
Yeah.
had like a lot of like a heavy, like a pants and like you know, obviously they had this, you know, cross on the back.
Yeah.
That's like the you know that's a eccentric. That's like essential thing for Off White, and the whole collection was like you know they had like a brims and stuff like that. But at that time, mind me, it was like a still kind of like end of a streetwear, right? So Supreme is still popping. So Supreme still got lines outside. So people still resell Supreme. There was the whole culture going on Complex and everything. They're like, oh, this whole resellers.
This is
you know?
before the bubble.
That was
popped,
that was
yeah.
exactly yeah. And at that time, they were like, okay, so we're getting this whole deal with New Guards Group. They're giving us all the runway pieces. And what can we do with it? I was like, okay, let me take a look at the buyout. You know, I took a look at the buyout, seen the numbers, everything. I was like, yo, like, how long you guys got a store for left? Like, you know, rent. They were like, oh, we got like maybe 2-3 weeks left, you know, and we can actually extend like weekly if you want to. I was like, yo, let's do a fucking pop up. They were like, and just let's do sample sale, like you know, first Off White sample sale, you know. Obviously, you got Palm Angels, Hood by Air, and those
Yeah,
other
yeah.
brands. And they were like, yo, like, you think you can do it? I was like, yo, like, give me like maybe like 20 minutes, think about it. I kind of written down like, you know, in a notebook, like, what would I need? I would need like a staff, what kind of staff I would need, what should I do, inventory, everything. I was like, yeah, it's doable, you know? Give me like a week and a half, you know? So I started, you know, like obviously getting staff, whoever I could get, you know. I went to a headquarters, started doing inventory of the new pieces, and I never seen those pieces ever before in my life. Mind me, that was the first collection for Off White, so nobody actually seen those pieces.
You
or
believed
those-
though it was gonna be big at that time.
At that time, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Like I was kind of like you know, kind of like in the beginning, and kind of like.
You were like,
because
they're
I-
taking a chance on me, so I'll take a chance on them.
Yeah, and it's funny thing about it that we started kind of like rolling PR in the last minute. I got lucky to actually connect with the Upscale Vandal,
Okay.
Mike.
Yeah.
He actually a big influencer. Shout out to Mike. He's an amazing dude. Super creative. You know, like if you don't know his background, he actually works with he actually known for working with Pharrell, Pusha T, Vegas Jones.
Oh,
He
wow.
one of the creators of a Paper Planes brand, one of the originators of Paper Planes brand, and working with Rock Nation hand to hand. And
So he's the real deal.
He's a real deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you check him out on Instagram, he's a real deal. He also hangs out with J Balvin, because he's Colombian.
Yeah.
Well, from New York, Colombian, not like J Balvin,
Yeah,
Colombian,
he's
Colombian.
Colombian.
Yeah. And we're like, yo, Mike, like, can you like come through to our like opening and like maybe like I don't know. At that time, Snapchat was a thing, and his Snapchat was actually big. He was like, yeah, my Snapchat is pretty big. Like, I can just go live on the Snapchat, whatever, and show people pieces that you guys got. At that time, it was funny seeing too because at that time, Grailed also started this new
Oh,
platform.
yeah.
That was the first year, and we got connected with Grails also, and they signed up to promote my pop-up, and that's the first and only physical location that they ever promoted.
Really? Because this was
because-
before the resale market blew up like it is now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because at that time, Grail was kind of like, oh yeah, like a resale market. Obviously StockX starting up. Like now we got gold. At that time, Grail was like not even focused on the. Obviously, they were like making money off the resale, but their main focus was on the archival, vintage, high-end fashion stuff. So now we got this off-white samples from the first collection. And obviously, we're selling them for a discounted because it's a samples.
Yeah.
And samples means that they were using the runway, and literally some of them don't even have a boxes. Let's say it's like a heels. They're like all like kind of like used, and
Yeah.
most of the size is gonna be mediums. And they decided to just promote us and everything, and they actually promote us. Made a whole article about it, and I remember that night before opening, I was there with Upscale Vandal, kind of like looking through pieces, and at that time, Grail, they were like interviewing, kind of like asking like, oh, what you guys got, like, and like asking me all kind of questions, and then they were like, oh, what's the name of the company? I was like, oh shit, like I got the opening next day, and I didn't even come up with a name. I came out outside to smoke a
You're
cigarette.
like, I wrote all these things in my notes, but not a name.
Literally, dude. And I came out outside, right, to smoke a cigarette, and it's like a Midtown Manhattan, and I'm looking at the address. It's 375 Lexington Avenue. I'm like, all right, so let's do 375,
375 Showroom.
Nah, yeah, exactly. So 375, in the beginning, was 375 pop-up. So 375 was like everybody asking, what the fuck is 375? 375 is actually our first location. 375 Lexington Avenue.
Yeah.
Up until now, it's been 6-7 years now. I got customers that came to my first pop-up. They actually come to my store. They're like, oh, Z, like, remember we met 6-7 years ago. I came to your first pop-up.
Oh, shit.
And I was like, wow, that's big, And I actually do give extra discounts for people actually coming to my first pop-up to actually support me. My first pop-up, I had a big-ass line. I can actually show you a video. It's on my Instagram.
So it was successful.
It was successful. It was crazy. I had a line outside. I'm going to show you a video. I actually had people camping out for 3 days.
Shit.
And that was a line right here. And you see, like, on the displays, it says 375.
375. Wow.
I don't know if you can get it.
Yeah,
from
no, I
Instagram,
see
show
the
it.
375.
No, but
yeah.
line is crazy. It doesn't stop. It's just,
Yeah, it
keep
just
going,
keeps
keep
going.
going, keep going. It's a Midtown Manhattan, so it's perfect.
And you didn't think it was going to happen like this?
Exactly, because everybody usually like, we're gonna do a pop-up. At that time, everybody always focused on like Soho, like, oh, I'm gonna open a pop-up in Soho because they depend on traffic, I had a location in Midtown, which made me a little bit different because now I'm kind of like making a destination point.
Yeah.
So now if you come in Miami, it's Midtown, 41st and Lexington, so it's like all corporate. On Saturday and Sunday, everything's closed. Most likely you cannot even get food out there because all the food courts are closed. Offices are closed,
But
so nobody in there. So it made me basically a destination point, which means if the person coming to Midtown taking the train, they coming in, they're taking the train. They actually coming in because to shop with me. because there's nothing else in there.
Yeah.
You know,
So
they
they know.
exactly. So they know what they're coming for. You know, and everybody going crazy. They're like, oh, what's going on? A lot of people that actually came to shop. If you look at the crowd, you can see some, you know, like obviously a lot of like, you know, people that shopping for themselves, but there's also a lot of resellers out there too. So those resellers, it was kind of like funny time at that time because as I
With
told
the
you,
Santa bags.
yo, Supreme was popping at that time, right? So people stand in lines for Supreme still, and Supreme drop was Thursday, right? I believe they still do Thursdays. I don't know. I'm not into Supreme like that. So
Yeah, I'm not
I know a
I'm
little
not a
bit.
big Supreme guy. Either.
And then it was Thursdays, and then people would stay extra. Actually, one of my customers told me recently, like maybe a year ago, he was like, "Oh, it was a big thing for me because I would come all the way from Jersey," and he was like, "I will come from Jersey, mad far to New York. We'll go to Supreme on Thursday, would stay over at my friend's couch to go to your pop up on Friday, because that was my opening."
Did you mean to do it the day after?
Honestly, it was just coincidence. I didn't even think about it like that, you know, and
Yeah.
it just happened to happen that way. And then literally like a lot of people that were coming from Supreme resale, let's say it, right? So for them, like Supreme at that time, right? For them, it's like, all right, I'm gonna go buy a T-shirt. I think it's like $40 or something like that, and I'm gonna resell probably like for higher, right? Like $120 and make myself money, right?
Yeah.
That's a whole logic behind Supreme, I guess, at that time, a resale market. And that clientele that was going to Supreme for hoodies and T-shirts, now they're coming to Off-White pop-up, right? And they expect same thing as a streetwear. They think Off-White, okay, hoodies and T-shirts.
Oh, they think
But
it's
they're
gonna-
coming in, they're like, oh, what the fuck is this? What is this skirt? I'm like, this is Off-White. No, it's not Off-White. What is this heels? It's Off-White. What are these handbags? It's Off-White. They're like, no, it's not Off-White. It's like, where's the hoodies and T-shirts? I'm like, yo, dude, Off-White is high-end brand.
Yeah,
it's
it's
actually
not.
it's actually Italian brand. It's produced in Italy, you know, and by the whole Umbrella New Guards group is Italian, you know.
Yeah.
And
So what was the price range of like?
price range was crazy at that time because there was no Off-White store at that time, not even a single one in the world.
Yeah.
It was the first collection, right?
So you guys were the only ones.
So we're the first people to actually get it, and it was price range. I just set up crazy price, you know. I
Yeah.
was like, yo, let's sell hoodies for like $140 each, you know. Now we know it's Off-White, you know, $600 retail hoodies.
Yeah, 140 is not
You
bad.
know,
I
140
thought
is
you were
not
gonna.
bad.
That's not bad at all.
Not bad at all.
Not bad at
and
all.
at that time, nobody even know retail prices like that because they literally just setting up a website. It's just a new brand, you know. I think at that time retail maybe it was like, I don't know, 450, 460 retail, and people were just going nuts, you know, buying those hoodies, reselling them, and it was crazy at that time. At that time, Palm Angels, right? I had a whole section of Palm Angels. Nobody wanted that brand. It's like literally like everybody like, what is this trash? You know, the first collection was like inspired by like a skateboards and skaters in Los Angeles. A lot of yellow glitter, like, you know, some college like a douchebag kind of vibes.
Yeah.
And everybody were like, what the fuck is this brand? You know, nobody actually digged it until they started doing the fucking tracksuits 3 years later. You know, now Palm Angels is my second biggest selling brand.
What's number one?
All right, so number one is still Off-White. I mean, now these days is Amiri. Amiri is definitely
Amiri,
popping on the
yeah.
streets now, you know. And I had Amiri like at my fourth pop-up in like 2017. That was like 4 years ago.
Ooh.
Now Amiri is a big ass brand, you know. Nowadays, like now they got stores. They open in New York.
Yeah.
In about maybe like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I would say.
It is kind of like directly based on
big.
like how many people are rapping about. You know what I mean? Like
It
if it's
is,
mentioned in a
definitely.
like I can tell like when a brand's getting bigger when like there's more. It's getting mentioned more.
Of course, definitely. And recipes to Pop Smoke. When you
Yeah.
come to the showroom, first portrait you see is Pop Smoke because he shopped with us, and you can see on 375 Showroom IG he shopped with us months and months before he died. You know, I actually got a lot of crazy stories. You know, like in the hip hop industry. Now our clientele is broadened up crazy.
Yeah,
You know?
you have so many. When I
Yeah.
went back, when I first looked up the place, I went back and saw
Mm-hmm.
everyone that you've had collabs with, everyone you shop there. You probably also know you don't have to name, but rappers who are fronting too when they come in and can't spend what like others are spending.
So there's a two segments now. You know, now it's 2021, right? So where we standing in 2021? I got a good ass stories, man. Like some crazy cool stories. Actually, boom. Let's go straight to the biggest one, right?
All right.
Ride Your Rich.
Okay,
right? So
Roddy.
Roddy Rich. Roddy
Yeah.
Rich pulled up like what, last summer? And bought about maybe like, I don't know, 12, 14, 16 bags with the whole team. And everybody, like I posted that, when we posted that picture of him actually shopping,
Yeah.
And at that time, he already got a box, he already buzzing on the radio.
How much is
everywhere.
that worth? Like 16 bags. Like
16
how much
bags,
is he
retail
dropping?
value. Retail
Yeah.
value probably would cost you like, I don't know, 40,000, maybe more, depending, He bought
Yeah.
a lot of expensive Amiri jackets, Amiri pieces, his whole team, And the funny part about it is like, I posted Roddy Rich that he shopped, like, he spent, everybody like, whoa, how the fuck the guy Roddy Rich? Everything, right? So 2 years before last summer, 3 years ago from now, I was in Brooklyn. I had a Brooklyn showroom, right? 375 showroom. That was a concept. After all these pop-ups, I already got a showroom in Brooklyn just to test it out.
Yeah.
And one of my partners in crime, Danny, everybody know Danny, he's probably like got the biggest presence out of my whole team, He got over 10,000 followers now. And he's like the main sales guy, He gets every rapper.
The white dude?
Yeah, the Danny. Yeah,
So the
white
ginger
dude.
white dude?
Yeah. He's gangster. If you look at his Instagram,
I saw it. Yeah, I followed.
He got money and all that. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
That's a lifestyle right now, right? So he's like the main face of our company now, but he's also the main plug, let's say, right?
Yeah.
At that time, he was mad cool with Lil TJ, like 3 years ago. And then at that time, Lil TJ got a SOB show with SOBs.
Yeah.
And at that time, Danny was like, oh, dude, like I met this little cool kid. He came to New York for the first time in his life from Compton. He was like, his name is Roddy Rich. He's about to be big. I'm like, for real? He's about to be big? He's like, yeah, he's about to come shop with us. He's coming through in the beginning, right? So in the beginning, his manager, Bert, amazing person. His whole team, amazing people, like they're like coming in, like, and Bert is like hype dude, he's like, I felt like he was like fresh, he had this feeling, my boy's about to get signed, like we're about to make it. So he's like coming in, he's like, wow, like what brands you guys got? So at that time, it was 3 years ago, so Off-White was the biggest brand. They're shopping Off-White, And last summer, and it's been like 2 years already since they shopped with us. And we, we tried to get to him. It's been like back and forth.
Yeah, it's been a crazy 2 years for
Yeah,
him.
so last summer when he pulled up, it was pandemic. 50 Cent working on Pop Smoke's album, and he flies Roddy Rich out to New York, and Roddy Rich already for whatever the album music video they got going, and Roddy is staying mentioned Jersey, right? So then he connected me with Roddy's manager Bird on FaceTime, and Bird is like, "Yo, Z, guess what? Guess what I'm wearing?" I'm like, "I don't know what you're wearing, Bird. What you wearing, OG?" He's like, I'm wearing that shirt that I bought from you 2 years ago, Off-White one.
Oh shit!
He's like, time to buy a new shirt. I'm like, bet.
Like, come through.
Yeah. And then he was like, yo, like they're gonna pull up tomorrow. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, usually for me it's like, now we're so used to it. Now we even like last night. Like I was I was helping. G Herbo was shopping with me last night.
Yeah.
And every day somebody's shopping with us. Sometimes it might be 3 rappers a day. Or 3 athletes a day. Sometimes it can be a whole Milwaukee Bucks team, and the whole bus they can pull up, and like we got to serve like 11
by
people.
appointment, so you can shut the shop down.
Yeah, right now we for Monday all whole time with 375 showroom from Monday to Friday we always by appointment only. On the weekends now we actually like, oh, let's general public actually come through and check us out,
Yeah.
and we treat them just like anybody else. Everybody treated equally in 375 showroom, and that's why I feel like people love us also, because they're like, oh, like they're coming to a store, they're like, oh, these people are mad cool. Like every time I actually read the reviews, because we do still sample sales.
Yeah.
We still do sales. We advertise on the blogs, and every time I actually on top of the reviews and actually look at the comments, actually read like, oh, what people say about us, they actually, certain blogs give you stars. So some sales I got 5 stars. Some sales they got 3 stars.
That's
right?
important. Yeah,
It's
that
totally.
was my job before any of this. I was marketing manager of like chain restaurants
Awesome.
and shit. So I learned all that.
Busy.
Shit. Yeah.
So as you know, like that's a challenging job, because essentially like, all right, everybody asking me, what do I do now for a living, right? I guess I got a space, and I guess I got different brands, and I guess I always am looking for new brands, and also so I use my space, I guess, to switch it up and bring experience, right? Because that's what we do here in New York. What we're doing in New York, we're actually here to build a community, to make friends, make money together,
Yeah.
and bring experiences, right? That's
And
the
you're
whole
not
New
stuck
York.
to the one brand like Supreme. Like you can
I'm not.
always be on the new
I'm not.
lookout. You can stay with like
Yes.
current to what's happening.
And sometimes actually we're ahead of a time too. As I told you, I had Amiri jeans in my pop up 4 years ago, and nobody wanted them. At that time, Balmain jeans were selling. Amiri was like, "Oh, like what is this? Some skinny jeans."
Yeah.
So now it's popping.
What's the next brand?
And literally like I got put on a route like 2 years ago too. It's like, oh, this Lele brand, the Luigi Villasenor, like he's a really dope dude. And now, last summer, I had a lot of root, and it was kind of like slowly selling, but towards like end of summer, it started selling like crazy.
Yeah.
One of the new brands that we actually also found is a Casablanca. Casablanca is a French brand. It's actually pretty dope too now. Literally like a year ago, I think 3 collections ago, that was their first collection. And I think they were like selling not that much, It was like just new, fresh brand. Now 3 collections later, I think they're making like $25 million a year or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
What other are there any brands that like you like? How do you find your brand? Like, are you on lookout for new designers? Like, who?
I always look out for the new brands, like obviously like magazines, blogs, every online,
Yeah.
And somebody also talks, they're like, oh, like obviously you got
You're
to listen.
connected in the business.
You also
so,
got to
like,
talk to your customers too, like customers mainly like, oh, do you got this brand, oh, do you got purple jeans, right now I don't have purple jeans,
Yeah.
but but I wouldn't mind having an account with them, if I'm gonna find a way. And then there's certain brands, I always like kind of like trying to find these new brands, and it's a little challenging, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially now in the saturated world, like I feel like there's brands like there's new brand like every week, especially now in the streetwear, because this whole like streetwear culture kind of like maybe like devalue the whole industry, a little bit. Be like, oh yeah, I can print out a T-shirt now. I can have a
Champion
brand.
T-shirt, yeah.
You know what I mean?
West Side Gun had a Griselda. He opened up a shop in Buffalo, all printed on Champion shit. He made like $250,000 the first day off of the Champion shit.
I wouldn't be surprised if they actually got the Champion account.
Yeah.
They might be actually.
But even this was like, if you look at this shirt straight on, it's not printed properly. It's printed off center.
But you also got to understand, like Champion, right, is a brand also itself. Like Champion back in the days, we used to know as athletic brand.
Yeah.
Now actually
Cheap.
Yeah, but now actually I go to their headquarters, like in Midtown.
Oh, yeah.
And every year they do this whole buy-in events. Shout out to Relly. He actually is the main guy for VIP customers at Champion, Relly. And he actually, you can check him out on Instagram. His name is Fat Jesus.
Fat Jesus.
But he used to be a freestyle rapper, like on MTV Unplugged, like everything,
yeah.
like battle rapper,
Yeah.
But now he works for Champion, and he would always invite me to their buyer events. That's an event when actually they invite all of the big companies they sell to, distributors, and they actually come and check out the new collection. And they got like models wearing their stuff, walking around, showing the new styles, maybe some new categories they're trying to present, whether it's the shoes. Because now all of these streetwear brands that we knew, that used to be just T-shirts and hoodies, now they're trying to expand too and trying to kind of like market into different niches, whether they start doing shoes. And
Jackets,
I've noticed it's not only with a Champion, it comes with a Kappa. I went to their headquarters showroom too. I've seen them doing the sneakers and everything, all different categories, women line, kids line, men's line,
We were talking about Purple. Purple is doing collabs with like rappers now. Like they did the West Side Gun collab.
So what we're talking about now, they probably got account with Champion, get a lot of Champion, right? And then the printing, it doesn't make it brand, it's still Champion T-shirt. We call it the merch. We call it like artist merch, And right now, the most successful artist merch out of everybody is Villon, And I actually do work with Villon directly too.
Yeah. What do they print on?
So Villon got two different segments, right? So Villon got segment which is artist merch, where actually artists coming in like Naf, all these collabs, right?
Yeah, they had
Pop
the Pop
Smoke.
Smoke ones. Yeah.
Yeah, so they actually coming in and they pay, Bari. It's a Bari to do this collaboration, and they actually run it on the normal tees. It's just a normal merch, they just put it's DTG, direct to and direct to garment.
Yeah.
So basically, like they just print out on the tees, just with designs, obviously V on the back, something on the front, and they call it artist merch. And actually, it's pretty cheap, affordable. I think it's like what $75 a T-shirt or something like
And then
that.
they resell. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they got a different segment because back in the days, Villon almost turned into a high-end brand when they did the Paris Fashion Week, and I got those pieces in the showroom too. All the only runway show they ever did, I got all the pieces.
Oh wow.
I bought it directly from them, and they produced jeans, jackets. Lil Peep was actually a model on that show too. Playboy Cardi too, and they had denim jackets, jeans. The whole aesthetic.
Yeah.
But then obviously the whole situation happened with Barry.
Yeah.
Everybody know the story.
Yeah.
And he
And
got
that
dropped.
really-
He got dropped. He got dropped from Nike deal, everything. And from there, Villon basically went to merch. Now Villon is slowly approaching new era where they're actually doing the high end also. So the main line, right?
It did come back in the past year.
Now
Yeah.
they're doing the main line, right? And this year, rest in peace, Games.
Rest in peace,
My
yeah.
company, 375 Showroom is official sponsors of Yams Day 2021.
You have the Yams Day shirt.
This is a hidden collaboration that we did. So what we did is actually we
That's a dope-ass
sponsored the event. All the money went to foundation. Always Strive and Prosper Foundation was founded by Tati, Yam's mom, to bring awareness of drug abuse. And it's nonprofit. So literally we just put money into nonprofit. They entered us as a third party between a Lamborghini, ASAP Foundation, Orc, which is ASAP Rocky, et cetera, and 375 Showroom. So we brought out our own brands that we believe that upcoming brands that definitely promising right now. We brought Hidden,
Okay.
which is super big brand right now. They got about 4 Instagram pages, crazy following. They got this their main merch page is hidden.ppf. And every time they drop, everything sells out, whether it's socks or shorts, simple stuff, And quality is pretty good. Second brand we brought in was Sinclair. Sinclair is one of those. It's basically Andrew Brooks.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically one of those kind of like rich exclusive brands. They just did drop yesterday, actually. Super cool, dope team. Tijan, Andrew Brooks, Budo, and third brand we had a Psychworld. It's a Zach Bia's brand from Los Angeles.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with that one.
Oh, it's pretty cool brand actually. It's on Essence. It's kind of like high end / streetwear. They just did the whole thing with the not Siberia Hills actually. Did the whole thing with Billie Eilish. But we had a Sinclair, Hidden, Psychworld. We brought Villon in. When we basically entered the game, we spoke to the people from Villon, and they were like super excited about it. Barry was so excited about it, he made mad designs,
Yeah.
So that's when we're coming back to Villon's conversation. That's when the main line comes in. Those t-shirts are totally different because they actually cut and sewn. They actually got this like each of the tees is actually made.
Mm-hmm.
They got like this saw on the sides, making like a little bit different flow.
Yeah.
Of the body, and the printing, is much more higher end. And obviously they got this, the tag, the V tag,
The V tag.
So
yeah.
those tees are
That's
main
actually-
line. That's a $180 tees retail, and $300 hoodies, And this time, for the first time ever for Villon, for this Yams Day, we produced ashtrays, Villon ashtrays. We did sweatpants. We did hoodies. And and it actually worked out pretty well,
How did you get connected with ASAP Mob?
So I got connected through, as I said before, when I went to LA with my mentor Daryl. Daryl
he-
is executive director of
so
ASAP
that's what-
Foundation. Yeah. But Daryl is actually a pretty interesting person. You definitely should talk to him because he was one of the originators of Blow magazine back in the days.
Oh, okay.
He was owner of Blow magazine.
So he was connected to
and
everything.
then he
earlier.
was making music videos for artists. He did a Rigor Mortis for Kendrick Lamar.
Oh, wow.
He's supposed to do ADHD. There was a certain situation going on. Vashti did that. He did one of the first ASAP Mob's videos, Rocky's first videos. Bunch of stuff, I don't want to, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to release all review, kind of like expose all of his credits. You
No,
know?
no, totally. But
He's OG.
Yeah, yeah.
He's OG. Yeah.
And that's how you got connected.
Yeah. So I met with him. You know, he mentioned to me that he was like, "Oh yeah, this year we're doing Yams Day again, but this year it's because of pandemic. We're gonna do a virtual one." You know, so if you know any sponsors, we're looking for sponsors right now. Let us know. And there were a lot of sponsors online. You know, different companies. I don't want to name them because they didn't go through, but they promised us for next year. And yeah, we basically did the whole Yams Day thing, virtual event. You've seen the whole, you know, like social media uproar.
Yeah.
They come from Harlem. We actually wasn't Harlem. It was winter time. We actually uptown and recording it all night.
Yeah.
I'm in the bus, you know, I'm in the production bus. We got two buses. They got, you know, the bus where you've seen the video where they rap, like, you know, like as an ASAP mob. And I'm in the production bus.
You're in the production
you know?
bus.
Exactly. I'm in the production bus with the production team. And we kind of like discussing, you know, the whole, how we're going to do it. You know, we from merch to a website. We had to build a website to after distribution, you know, where it's going to go, which city is going to go, how we're going to sell in Asia, you know, because right now we're doing another round. It's sold on the Hong Kong website called HBX. It's a super big website.
Yeah.
So now they're doing another round of Yams Day merch, you know, on the HBX.
What was the first pop-up you did at your showroom, like rapper pop-up?
So first rapper pop-up I ever did was 3-4 years ago when A Boogie released his album. I got a deal to do A Boogie's pop-up. His merch, you know, High Bridge. Actually, it's on our Instagram too. If you're gonna go all the way to the bottom, and that was a little bit crazy, you know. Obviously, it's a little bit different crowd. His crowd, I don't know about now, but at that time, his crowd was like a lot of teenagers.
Yeah.
So they literally like came through to my Brooklyn spot, bombarded the hallway. Was like a lot of kids, you know, waiting for him.
Because he was like a pop star at that.
Exactly, yeah. He walked in from the back, and everybody started screaming like, "Whoa!" We got a video of that too. They're like, "Whoa!" Start singing his songs, everything, and coming in, buying his merch, taking pictures with him, etc., etc. You know, and yeah, that was my first artist pop up. But that was first artist pop up at 375 Showroom, because at a certain point of time, I would say like 2 summers ago, I started getting hired outside of 375 Showroom to do certain stuff, you know, for rappers, and I did the whole pop up for Deep Set.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
2 summers ago, I did a Deep Set pop up.
That's awesome.
I met up, you know, with the main merch guy, BB. He's also one of the OGs. He connected with Cameron. And he runs Gibson Couture, which is one of the new lines for Deep Set they did. If you're gonna go on the website, it's like a lot of tracksuits. They actually kind of like tried to expand to high end also.
Yeah.
So they started doing tracksuits, and then whatever they were doing, you know, like whether it's you know, bath curtains. If you see those,
because Dipset had kind of like a resurgence.
Dipset had is amazing piece, you know. They actually redid the whole branding, you know. And they also had to take out, you know, the whole eagle, the emblem. They had to take out the guns because of the whole thing. You know, they did collaborate. They did collab with Knicks, as you see.
Oh, and you had to get rid of the guns.
You got to get rid of guns and stuff like that. So at that time, they had like one of the new guys that was like, "Oh yeah, I want to launch the whole new collection." You know, designed by D. Bruce. If you check him on Instagram, it's one of the guys that does all of the hip hop, like a vintage tees, like a vintage looking tees, you know, with the gold and like, you know, says like whatever it is, the artist name, you know, one of those like vintage shit. But he
like
does the new ones. So we did the whole thing. We did Joel's, Jim Jones, Cameron, you know, and obviously Gibson Couture, you know, was more affiliated with the Cam, so they actually flew Cameron out too for the pop up. You know, I basically they hired me to do video, you know, to the video promo, get the models, go to Harlem. Actually, Cameron gave us some addresses. I met some members of his family. I met Tito Poppins. I believe he's one of his relatives, owner of the laundromat there.
Yeah.
And I came to laundromat. They showed me their family pictures, everything on the wall. We literally like shot everything there. Shot a lot of like segments in Harlem, did a photo shoot, started the promo roll, and I found a space. I rented it out. Got a sponsorship from Belair, super dope brand, you know, champagne.
Yeah.
And we did a pop up, and I hired the DJs, everything.
So you do like you're good at like have you ever tried designing yourself? Like
I'm trying to avoid it, you know. Because,
you sound like you have a lot on your plate already. You're a busy guy. So it does.
I don't know, like it's like again, right? What are we doing in New York, right? Like building community, making friends, you know, and you know, build experience, bring experience to people, right? Because that's what we're here for in New York, you know, to experience stuff, and essentially build your own brand, right? If you like actually in the public eye, you know.
Yeah.
So 375 Showroom, we did certain collaborations, you know, just as a name, like. So I did like little designs, but not a big deal, you know. I'm not really like into it as much. I will try to do more this year. Actually, during the pandemic, I was hanging out a lot in the school bar called Boys Don't Cry, and they were actually a little bit struggling with business during pandemic. And I was like, hey, you know what? Let's do collaboration on hats, you know. Boys Don't Cry, 375 Showroom, 375 Boys, you know. So I did we did the whole roll. Got you know, the high end caps. Sold them out. Sold like 200 pieces probably in a week, and you know, split the money. Little money went for them for rent, stuff like that, whatever they had to spend it on. And for me, that was like a first collab that was more like a genuine.
Yeah.
To help friends out, you know,
That's
for their business.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, oh, okay, that's cool, you know, like that's more like I'm like, okay, now I'm doing something, you know, because everybody is always like trying to be like, oh, do collaboration with Deep Set, you know, why don't you do collaboration with Deep Set? Why don't you do this, you know? I was like, but what's the function of it, you know? Like, obviously, exposure is good, but it's like, but what are we doing in terms of this whole merch situation? And how can we actually help out, you know, each other?
Did you think you were gonna end up like you said you loved fashion? Like, did you think this was gonna be what your future was like?
Not at all. My mom didn't expect it. My dad didn't expect it. Now, like, you know, they're like really proud of me. They're like, oh yeah, my son working in fashion, you know.
But
like,
at first it was.
In first it was whack, you know. In the first it was like, obviously, you know, you're just a salesperson. You're trying to come up with $1. You're trying to, you know, kind of like get yourself together.
Yeah.
You know, especially after college, you know, everybody trying to get themselves kind of like find themselves after college. You know?
I understand. I'm not making money off this yet. I'm just grinding. I'm still in that stage, you know.
I feel you.
Yeah.
How old are you?
23.
Wow. What
I
the
know.
hell? Yo, dude, that's exactly. Trust me, man. Like that's exactly when I started, kind of like 23. That's when I started figuring my shit out. You know, I think I just figured my shit out like at like 25, 26. You know, kind of.
Yeah. No,
but it takes time. It takes time.
Yeah.
You know, now I'm 30 years old. You know, so now.
And you're starting to get your shit together.
And
still.
now it's funny. Now actually we're talking all these stories, and now actually I'm realizing how fucking old I am, and not that, but everybody's still saying, you know, you're
everyone
30,
still
just
thinks
30.
you're, but you
Exactly.
created that what I bet a lot of people would want in your position at 30.
Exactly, and that's where actually.
We turn on the AC. Thanks.
And that's why it's kind of like interesting to me too, because now I'm reflecting on the times when Supreme and the streetwear and resale was big, right? At that time when they were coming to my pop-up, a lot of those people actually didn't like me, you know, because they were like, oh, who the hell this kid thinks he is, you know, without actually knowing my background, knowing that actually, you know, I was going around in music and stuff like that. Nobody knew that. Everybody were like, oh, everybody were looking at it like, oh, we're resellers. We're standing in lines for this shit. We're fighting to resell T-shirts, stuff like that. You know, we know each other. That's our community. And now you enter in our community. So a lot of people felt offended about it in the beginning, you know. So that's why.
And now you're getting the respect.
Exactly. Now I feel that because back in the days, I told you like Grail, that article about me on Grail still exists. But if you look at the comments, they're kind of like negative, you know, because at that time people were confused. People kind of confused of who I am. People were confused with my brand, and people were confused what's going on with the fashion industry at that time.
Yeah.
You know, like all the off-white being high end. People were super confused at that time, you know. But now we're looking at it 6-7 years later. I'm 30 years old, right? It's like, dude, like now everything makes sense. You know, everything like, wow, like the industry actually changed, you know? Supreme doesn't resell as much, you know?
Yeah.
Now everybody want to wear high-end stuff, you know? I heard that last couple drops on Palace, there's no line, you know? People just come in and buy stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And it's interesting situation
You
because
stuck to your shit.
exactly.
That's something
And-
good to hear, because like
Yeah. And
I hope I don't get that, but I feel like people probably think that stepping into the rap game, like
Yeah.
interviewing the people, like who is
Yeah.
this comedian from?
Oh, and also, of course, and also it's also about race, right?
Yeah.
Like also too.
I know, yeah.
Exactly,
I
like-
know what I sound like. I know what I look like.
Exactly.
Like, you know,
exactly.
like
And same with me, you know, like
Yeah.
being an Asian, like it's kind of like a little bit confusing because as Asians we kind of like I believe that as Asians we're kind of like more fluid towards the style. If you look at my Instagram, I've been changing my style every year, you know. But now as a 30-year-old, I kind of like found myself. I believe I found myself, you know, kind of like and now I can actually dictate and actually suggest people like what to wear, how to style it, because now because I've seen so many changes in the fashion industry. When back in the days it used to be dark, all dark stuff. I used to wear all black, Rick Owens and all that stuff.
Yeah.
5-6 years ago.
You ever go into that like heavy leather, the big like?
Yeah, I had all of it, bro. I had like Julius 7 boots from Japan, size 2, like $1,200, like $1,200. Balenciaga dark wallet, and now I like more like colors and stuff like that. Obviously this whole pandemic experience, right? Pandemic experience was pretty interesting because I feel like it taught us a lot as a humans and our fucked up priorities, which means, obviously like, everybody were discussing fashion during pandemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now everybody buying like, pajamas. I'm staying indoors,
Yeah.
and people couldn't get haircuts. People could, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People were like looking all kind of grimy, in the cribs, like, and people started losing it mentally, As soon as the pandemic was over, everybody started going out and buying clothes. Everybody want to look good. Everybody want to feel good. Remember when pandemic was over, and like that stage of pandemic was over.
Yeah.
And the barbershops were full. Like they were overbooked for like 2-3 weeks. You
Yeah,
know what I
because
mean?
no one had gotten their haircut. Yeah.
Exactly.
But you had stuck through it, like.
Exactly. But once it was over,
Was it hard for you as a business still, or were you still doing stuff?
so our challenge was interesting because during pandemic, I feel like a lot of businesses were kind of like challenged, like, okay, damn, like, what should I do? Like, should I focus on online? I actually did a Instagram sale, and it was pretty successful.
Yeah.
It was like 3-hour session with the 15-minute breaks in between, with the guest appearances,
Oh, shit.
requests and all
Yeah.
that stuff to get following.
Well, you did PR. You know how
Yeah.
to market. Like
Exactly.
marketing's such a big part of that.
And we
shit.
we killed that. It was crazy ass sale. We did for like 3 days in a row. I think like 2 days,
Yeah.
on Instagram, and we were literally like shipping packages out, And at some point of some stage of pandemic, I was literally coming to Showroom, and you cannot be inside like that because
Yeah.
obviously cops are cruising, they're checking,
yeah.
And I know 7% pretty well. Like I'm in the community, I go to community meetings, everything.
Oh, so
And-
yeah.
Yeah, so thanks God I was in community, so they let me be in my office and actually prepare my packages, go to USPS, stand in line, ship them out.
That's
I will
a-
go to Showroom like 3 times a week, just to ship it, just to ship the packages at some point. And then all of a sudden, like, I feel like artists, they kind of like stop being scared and start being outside, you
Yeah.
know? So one of my customers that came from an appointment at the end of pandemic stage was Chef G and Sleepy Hollow.
Oh, yeah.
They were like, oh, we got to pull up, Like we got to pull up, we got to buy a drip. Literally, they pulled up, both of them, and the whole winner circle. Shout out to them, And they actually pulled up and they shop and they spend, And they've been actually buying every week.
Really?
Every week they've been buying something new. And because they just signed Sleepy Hollow, they just got Eli Frost. Chef G is a big artist already.
Yeah.
I think he just about to drop his first like official album.
Yeah, Sleepy Hollow just dropped a project.
Sleepy Hollow dropped dope project.
Yeah.
And literally like they got to make videos. They got to get the content out. They got to be on the roll. So they need to shop. They're obligated, It's like a big thing for them,
Yeah.
They just signed. And I see it all the time,
Who's balled out the most in your store? Who's balled? I know you said the Rowdy Rich. Who's
Rowdy Rich,
balled out the
definitely.
most? Has there been one person who's just like, God damn?
It all depends though, because like so everybody looking at this like that, right? Instagram is like one life, right?
Yeah.
Instagram is like, oh, they made a post of McMill was there at that time. but nobody knows behind the scenes. Nobody knows that Meek Mill pulls out 4 times a week sometimes.
Yeah.
Last week he literally pulled out 4 times a week, like back to back to back, like nonstop. You know, 3 days ago he stopped by Showroom, try on the fit. He was like, look at the watch. He was like, oh, I got to go. He dropped his. He actually left his Supreme Air Force one shoe in the basement and just like and put other shoes and just like dip to the game, to the basketball game. You know what I mean?
I don't know how you leave one.
But he got to pick. He still got to pick it up.
Yeah,
It's
of
fine.
course.
but you know what I mean? Like, and then like when G Herbo just found out about us, first week he was coming 3-4 times a week too. My first celebrity customer
Yeah.
that Upscale Vandal brought to me on my first pop up was Fabulous, you know?
Yeah.
And that was like probably like only time he shopped with me, and then maybe he came to my like third pop up. But since then we've never been connected like that, you know. Now
Yeah.
Fab, maybe since starting like 5-6 months ago, now he's coming in constantly, and we're trying to. And he's a pretty challenging person. He doesn't have no stylist. He literally like pick up the fits and the themes.
Do most people
by
have
himself.
stylists?
A lot of people have stylists. It all depends, though, you know? It
Yeah.
all depends who you sign for, whether it's a label, whether it's a project, you know?
Labels will force people to like, you have to dress this way.
There's a certain ways. No, it's not about that. It's about, okay, I'm going to give you a good example, right? I styled Jim Jones for Drip Report, 7 fits in a row. You know what I mean? Does he have a stylist? It's a Revolt? Yes.
Yeah.
They got budget? Yes. You know? Does Jim Jones have a stylist? Yes, you know.
Yeah.
So that's once again, you know, it's there's kind of like middle ground, you know.
No, of
Some
course.
people have stylists. Some people like for his music videos. Jim prefers to shop himself. He likes to shop. He's a hoarder. Like
Yeah, he wants
and
to-
he got drip. You know what I mean? Like even now he got drip. Actually,
Just
I'm a
because
big
I
Jim
know
Jones
people,
fan.
I
Yeah.
love Jim.
I love
I
Jim
know
Jones.
people who have like signed 360 deals,
Yep.
and then they're like, you have to dress this, like you have to be
Oh.
a character.
Okay, now I got it. Now I got a question. Okay, now I got a thing. So certain it all depends on the person, right? So that's one of the segments that I do, styling, right?
Yeah.
So that segment is really important too, because it's a perception. Style is a perception of the person because people don't see you on an everyday basis. They watch the music videos, right?
Yeah.
So let's say you sign a deal. I see a lot of rappers that sign a deal. Now they got to buy cars. Now they got to buy jewelry. Now they
First
got to
time
get
I'm
dripped
getting a
out.
check, I'm gonna make you style.
They have to dress apart.
Yeah.
You know, because money bring money. You know.
Yeah, totally.
So it's all depends on the personality, depends on the age, and depends on the demographic. I'm gonna give you a good example. Lil TJ, right? Lil TJ right now is buzzing. He got a young demographic. They love him, and he's young himself. So that gives him limitations. And he's from Bronx, from from harsh part of New York.
yeah.
So now it brings it to limitations. He cannot be too pro high-end fashion. He cannot wear Ricons, let's say. He cannot wear drop crotch pants because his demographic will not understand it. He got to wear Amiri jeans with Dior B22 sneakers with the bombers, drive Bentley truck, you know. So that's a perception, you know, and he got to live apart. But then as the artist is growing, his demographic is also getting older, you know, and they're getting older, they're getting more mature, and you as a person got to mature also, you know. It's like you're looking at all those old school rappers like Jim Jones, you know. He doesn't wear skinny jeans. He's like, no matter how popular Amiris are,
Yeah.
he's never gonna wear skinny jeans. He's gonna wear a Amiri jacket, but his jeans gonna be a little bit more loose, you know, because he's OG and he's like it's just not him now, you know.
Yeah.
So that's why, as I said, like, you know, his demographic. If he would wear skinny jeans, everybody would laugh at him. His own people would laugh at him, you know. So that's a part of a styling, you know. You gotta look at the personality, you know. If he's gangster, he got to wear a certain way, you know. Like now we got the whole wave of rappers coming from Brooklyn, you know, the whole drill scene, like a lot of blue bandanas, you know, like, and that ain't no secret, you know.
Yeah.
I sell a lot of blue pieces, you know,
Yeah.
and we know a lot of people from Brooklyn, and we're proud of it, you know, because that's where we 375 Showroom started in Brooklyn, you know, and I used to live in Brooklyn. I paid a lot of respect to you know, to Flatbush, East 21st, you know, like it's a dope scene out there. And now we see like, you know, Bobby Shmurda,
Yeah.
you know, Canarsie, the whole Pop Smoke, you know, it's totally different scene now. I feel like New York is definitely coming back in the hip hop.
It really
slowly,
is,
you
yeah.
know. What Chef G and Sleepy Hollow did in Britain is like, it's crazy. You know, I don't know if you've seen those freestyles.
Yeah, well, even what Griselda did out of Buffalo, like
Griselda is crazy.
crazy.
Griselda is, it's so funny because, you know, like Bane the Butcher, he doesn't even have a million followers, but but when you came to the pop up, you could see the following he has.
I was
you know?
there since 6 in the morning. Like, there's a reason I
Exactly.
do that. Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
But you see the energy and you see the crowd, and the crowd is super respectful. Miami, like, you know, we had a lot of people there. Not even one single piece was stolen. You know?
Yeah.
Super respectful. You see the flow, you know? And we do a lot of pop ups, dude. And that's why now it comes to like curation, partnership, just like styling, you know? Now I got to look at my brand and be like, oh, who should I collaborate with? And what actually speaks like, okay, this is 375 Showroom.
Yeah.
So Benny the Butcher was 375 Showroom, you know? And you're seeing after he finished with his meet and greet, he still shopped because we do have a drip,
Yeah.
you know? And he is, you know, he is up there.
Yeah, of course. He's
and,
gonna.
And that's why it's like, you can see like, so now I'm thinking about like, you know, brand development, you know? Who actually like shops, what makes sense, you know? And what doesn't make sense, you know? There are certain brands I cannot carry, like simply, you know? Every day I got a lot of emails and different brands trying to reach out and trying to get on the racks next to Off-White, next to Casablanca, next to Rude, next to
Right.
Amiri. But like I got to look at the brand, I got to look what it represents, you know? I got to look longevity of it, you know? Because if it's simply the guy that thinks like, yo, I'm gonna take t-shirts, I'm gonna put my branding on it, and now I got a brand, but he doesn't have a vision longer than that, then it's like it's not really a brand, you know? And I
Yeah.
cannot really put it in there. So that's why
You have
know,
to have a vision. But
of course, yeah. But there's a lot of cool streetwear brands that actually
like you had
do
Spider,
work with.
you were showing, you know.
Spider is high-end brand.
Yeah.
It's actually, I believe, British or something like that. It's Young Thug's brand.
Yeah.
But it's high-end. He got the runway shows. But there's a lot of cool streetwear brands, you know?
And he came in the whole weird, like the Lil Uzis and the Playboys and the Young Thugs, like this
Yeah.
strange style. Not strange style, but
He's
like.
from Atlanta.
Yeah.
You know, we here from New York, like we're a little bit different. We're more like you know, like we see brands, we see Soho, we see the displays, you know, we see people dressed up, like, you know, like I just, like every time I go to LA, it kind of reminds me, you know, like what New York is, you know, in terms of fashion style, like, you know, sense.
Yeah.
LA is a little bit behind, you know. Miami, same vibes, you know. Miami is like a reggaeton, colors, you know. And New York, we actually like pro fashion. You can wear all black, and then you can wear all streetwear, or you like you never see this kind of situations happening anywhere else in the world, you know.
Yeah.
Literally, like where I'm from, like third world country, you know, Kazakhstan. My city, Almaty, like everybody is like super conservative, you know. Everybody dresses like, you know, like ladies wear heels, you know. You got to wear shoes. You cannot have tattoos, you know. In New York, you literally like build yourself, you know. You first you find yourself, then you build yourself, you know. And then some people say like, you know, you limit yourself, but I don't think so, you know, because I think it's just like you kind of like build yourself and find the right direction and just grow from there, you know.
Yeah. And you've been able to do that.
Gladly I've been able to do it, you know. And everybody asking like, oh, like how you keep doing it, you know, like nonstop, because certain weeks I work 7 days a week, you know. Like you can find me in the showroom 7 days a week.
It's passion. I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but
they're like, why are you doing this, right? And I'm like, dude, like it's constant growth, you know. Like I wanna keep seeing like new brands, like, you know. I wanna learn something new, you know. I just like creative shit, man. You know?
I want to keep having these conversations. I want to be able to talk to you. And, like, I don't. If I
Exactly.
stop, then I'm not going to be able to have a conversation like this. It's you got to keep going because you got to follow your passions.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, it's a part of growth, you know. And that's another reason why we're in New York, right? You want some?
Yeah, I'll have some.
Yeah, let's have some.
Do you want some?
Even though I had a crazy night last night, but you know.
And I appreciate your time.
Nah, no problem, man. You actually
Thank
caught me at the right time, you know. And this week is kind of like crazy. Literally, yesterday I had meetings all day, back and forth. Today I'm here. Kind of got day off a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
And tomorrow again, like meetings and stuff.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, we'll finish this and talk, but thank you for. We'll turn the microphones off. Thank
Okay.
you for doing this, man.
No
I really
problem,
appreciate
man. No, I always
Cheers.
looking forward. You know, as you said, we here in New York, trying to make friends,
Yeah.
build a community,
The
build a
second-
brand. You know, build yourself.
The second I get a check, I'm gonna come to your place and I'm gonna have you style me.
Gotcha, man. And
No.
and even if not, you know what I mean. Like whenever I do like certain projects, you know, I'm gonna take care of my people, man.
Thank you. I really. Everyone, go check out the 3-set. What's your social media and shit?
Mine is Z from 375. 375 Showroom is us. Shout out to Danny KH. You know.
What's your
man.
address now? Your
36 Ludlow Street. But don't just pull up though. You know, you
Don't
got to
pull
DM us. You got to set up your appointments. It's
you better have
simple.
your money straight.
Money money is not important, you know. Like I got a lot of people just coming in just to check out what's new, what's going on, you know. Like that's why people don't get it twisted, you know. Because once you like, oh, you got set up an appointment, some people get intimidated, you know.
Yeah.
But once you come to the showroom and actually talk to us and talk to my team, you see like we're not pressing you to buy shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're not like one of the stores where you come in and like people be like. And there's like a salespeople on your ass trying to sell you like, oh, what you need, what size you need, you know? We here is like, yo, you need some help? Let us know, you know? So that's 375 Showroom. That's our approach, you know? There's a lot of upcoming projects. Definitely follow Instagram, you know?
Oh yeah. Do you have any other pop-ups or collabs coming soon?
I'm doing Rolling Loud Miami, end of July, 5-day pop-up. We do a bunch of collaborations. We do collabs with I cannot reveal that.
Yeah, no.
I cannot say that.
Yeah, follow him on social media. You'll see that shit.
End of July, Rolling Loud Miami, pull out to Miami. We're bringing New York to Miami. We're not coming to Miami to make a Miami experience. We're coming to Miami to bring New York experience. You know, and obviously Rolling Loud, October. You know, like New York. That's gonna be big.
Smokers Club. There's so many good.
Smokers Club. We'll see. You know.
We'll see.
Dizza, call me.
Man, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, always, bro. Stay
All right,
up, man.
Peace.